This conference will now be recorded.
Respected participants, dear fellows of Country Serving Association of Pakistan, Assalamu alaikum and very warm welcome. My name is Muhammad Shahzad. I am today presenting a presentation on the topic of tendering. I hope everybody can access the slides. So, before a formal start, those our fellows, friends, participants are joining today. I have information for them that initially we started or we prepared this presentation on procurement and the tendering, but after that we separated on both on different presentations. So today we are actually it's a second part of same presentation on topic of tendering. So we are starting now. The first slide. So here is the agenda. We can find some topics over here. I just arranged that tendering definition, procurement recap. I just intentionally add a one slide just to give an idea about the yesterday, what topics we have studied. Of course, then tendering, why tendering is required, type of tendering, tender documents, pre-qualification of contractors, tender report, tender analysis. So we will move to a next slide. I will start from this concept that we don't know more about tendering, and starting from a simple definition. I just Googled the first one, the tendering. Tender is in essence a type of a transaction model used by the large organizations, government bodies, companies, and NGOs in order to find the contractors for particular projects. Basically, it is a bidding process utilized by both public and private organizations. So, well, this is good one, which I Google and find over here. Let's discuss which we have professional taken from RICS strategies. What they are saying, tendering is an important phase in the procurement strategy we discussed before, but procurement involves much than simply obtaining a price. Okay, then what is tendering? Tendering is the bidding process to obtain a price, number one. Number second, how a contractor is actually appointed. So if we will compare both those definitions, we will find a broader definition which we find from tender strategies, that the bidding process to obtain the price and how contractor is actually appointed. So I just highlighted, if you check that red one, basically it is a bidding process. So one thing is common, that on both definitions, that this is a bidding process, but how contractor is actually appointed. So we will explore more going to further slides. Yes, this slide I add, there may be some of us may have a question that there is a close relation with the estimation versus tendering. So just to clear that particular information, I copied this one. Estimating the technical process of predicting cost of construction, and tendering as a separate and subsequent commercial function based on estimate. So it's a very much clear right now what estimating is producing, the technical process of predicting cost of construction, okay, and tendering as a separate and subsequent commercial function based on estimate. Let's move another slide. As I told just before that, I put some detail which we have discussed yesterday and merge what we are discussing now. So procurement recap. Those who joined yesterday may be familiar, but this information may be for those who are joining today. Procurement strategy we discussed before. Just a little bit information that strategy, a single strategy is not fit for any project. So what we find yesterday, that we find that the different strategies for different type of projects. Okay, then what project objectives? We have to finalize what the client is thinking, and those thinking we should incorporate the project objectives. So when we have a project objectives, then we will move towards selecting a procurement route. Yesterday we discussed a further many type of procurement routes. Those who are not joined yesterday were not able to join. Just a simple review that we discussed, that the procurement routes, we have a traditional, we have a management oriented, management contracting, construction management, integrated, under integrated, we discussed design and build. Once we selected a procurement route, then we are moving towards selecting a type of contract. So we discussed yesterday that which type of contract actually facilitating. Again, it depends which type of routes selecting contracts actually fulfill the objectives, project objectives. Either it should be a lump sum, either some others which can fulfill the requirement of clients. Then moving again, selecting a form of contract. So we know about that. We have a FIDIC, we JC, we have some local form of contracts. So again, it depends where it can fulfill the objectives, and we can execute project as per parameters set by the client. Now this was the recap. Now there are further topics which we will discuss today. Selecting a type of tendering. I mean, which type of tendering we can select. Again, this is a continuation of a same topic. Selecting form of contract. Now we are going to select a type of tendering for the same purpose. From which we are taking that the objectives and going step by step towards the pre-contract all working. So we are going selecting type of tendering, then pre-qualification of contractors. We will discuss later why it is required over here. Pre-qualification of contractors. It will coming slides may give a better idea for that one. The second, tender documents. We know about that. It's a back spine of all this process. Tender documents we will discuss later, and finally the tender report. Hope those our participants who joined today will be clear what we discussed yesterday. Moving to the next slide. Why tendering is required, or we can say why tendering is important. So tendering enables procurement of goods and services in efficient, economical, transparent way, fair and equitable treatment of suppliers, and promote competition. If we just keep in mind the last point, the promote competition, we know that yesterday we discussed type of procurements, and we find that two major routes from management oriented and integrated. I mean, design and build and management, contracting and construction management. There is a major role of this particular point. Selecting subcontractors, promoting competition. So either small or either big level, we need to do that tendering to promote competition, a more competitive price from the market. Moving to the next slide. Types of tendering. Types of tendering, many of us may be familiar if they studied that strategies, tendering strategies. They can get a better idea from that RICS publications. They can find a better for that one. Open tendering, selective tendering, negotiating tendering, and e-tendering. The further slides may give a better idea for those in detail. So open tendering. Open tendering, this allow anyone to express an interest to tender. The proposed tender opportunity is usually advertised in newspaper, journal, or on website. Many of us experience this on daily basis when they are reading a newspaper. They find some tender advertisements. So that open tender actually defining that it can be anyone who can participate on those tenders which advertise generally on newspaper or websites. Websites, we know about that. If over here that Ashgal, public authority, they are publishing. In many of countries of this region, they are practicing this one. This is mainly used for the government project and public as well. The second, a selective tendering. Selective tendering is not open to everyone, and the list of a suitable contractor is chosen by the project team. So project team, a pre-contract team which is allocated to finalize those contractors. So once a project is likely to become a reality, then a long list should be drawn up from all members of the design and client team. From where it is coming? It's too early, but later we will discuss the list which finalized by the pre-qualification evaluation. Selective tender is not open to everyone. We discussed before. The next point, under this, the same selective tender, there is a single stage selective tendering. And what is a single stage selective tendering? Invitation to tender documents are issued to the number of competing contractors who are all given the chance to bid for the project based on identical tender documentation. These are then analyzed in the term of cost and quality before a single contractor is declared and declared the preferred contractor. The most common type of a tender strategy, obtaining a price for the whole of a construction work. This is a main common, and we are experiencing on a daily basis those who are related on a particular tendering. Two-stage selective tendering. Two-stage tendering has become a more common in recent years and is used where time is constrained. As it enables design and tendering to overlap. We have discussed yesterday design and build overlapping, management contracting overlapping, construction management overlapping. So from this definition, we can find which route is coming technically under this stage, under this type of tendering. There is a further detail how we are going to finalize. On concept design, the preferred contractor is chosen on the basis of the quality bid. The preferred contractor then joins the design team on a consultancy basis using a pre-construction services agreement. The preferred contractor then works with the professional team to complete the design. And the second stage agreement, that we start then second stage after completion that one to lump sum tender. Applying supplementary criteria to shortlist the contractor. The same we discussed for the second stage particular. I am adding a further information. Design and build contract are normally awarded on a two-stage tendering process. So is a same which I discussed before, the same information that three those particular routes which can overlap to facilitate design and execution together coming under this type of tendering. So we are moving to another next slide. The next type is a negotiated tendering. A negotiated tender is effectively a single stage tender with a single contractor who returns with an initial price. This is then negotiated with the client's professional team. Negotiated tendering is adopted where the client approaches one or more suppliers or contractors and negotiate the terms and conditions under which the project will be undertaken. Generally adopt when the limited competitive suppliers available in the market, or they may have a specialized contractor. For example, maybe for the powerhouses, construction of powerhouses, district cooling plants. So in this scenario, there is a need to negotiate to finalize a subcontractor or contractor. The benefit of this route is to speed with which a price can be obtained for the work. However, the competitive advantage of a formal bidding process is compromised. But we discuss formal that there is a competitive price when we are doing the tendering on a single stage or two-stage tendering. There is a chance that we are getting some competitive price. But when you are negotiated, especially, I just mark a single point over here, market is saturated. A lot of work are going, you are unable to find a quality contractor or a subcontractor. So you may have to come on table to negotiate to not to suffer the work. So this is particular type of tendering which we may adopt in particular situation. There is another point, the existing, maybe that there is a relationship from the client or maybe the contractor have some relationship further they work previous projects, may have a good relation to bringing back to get a quality work. So this negotiation tendering can be used over there. Moving to next slide. I'm not clear either you will be able to clearly get the idea or but it's written in this slide because I just copied this from the tender strategies. Due to the short of time, I was not able to type that one. This is a very good information. We have discussed this types. This slide actually effectiveness of a certain tendering procedures. They are giving a clear idea, advantages, disadvantages of certain tendering procedure, which we have just discussed, we can understand if it is a design and build single stage, we can find that a very small, a 1 point advantage is written a most competitive price, whereas if it is, we will check that tendering, type of tendering, we will find advantages, 3 advantages over there. We can say that two-stage, we just discussed before that the two-stage actually is a better for the design and build and management contracting. We can find a traditional management in that third row. We can check that there is advantages. Negotiated, we find that more advantages. Most contractor involved process, no program implication of a tendering. I am just reading the negotiated, we can find the advantages. Contractor involvement through process. So what are this? I just put a reference of tender strategies, that this is giving a clear idea, advantages, disadvantages of the tendering procedures, type of tendering we just studied, and will give a clear idea. Moving to the next slide. Type of tendering. The next, many of us may be experienced for this e-tendering. Is common over here in Qatar as well. So e-tendering, electronic tendering, enables the traditional process not only to be made more efficient, but also to add a significant value. It can provide a transparent and paperless process. More importantly, by using the internet tendering, opportunities become available on global market. I experience over here when I enter in this Qatar market. E-tendering, I am a part of team who actually work in the e-tendering. So it's very effective. We can get what are the benefits. What is the e-tendering? Internet-based complete tendering process, from advertising to receiving or submitting tender-related info are done online. More efficient transactions, reduce tendering cycle time, reduce more of the indirect cost. If I just find more about that, electronic procurement is the use of electronic tools and systems to increase the efficiency and reduce the cost during each stage of the procurement process. Internet-based complete tendering process, I have discussed over here, and it can reduce the paperwork and also better coordination with the client agency who the next is a process, e-tendering process. This slide may give the idea how it works. It's a same procedure, but as defined in the last, but the tender are, if we start from starting right side of my slide, request for a tender is prepared and the tenders are invited, supplier respond, evaluation and the selection, notification and the debriefing, contract established and managed, the tender process is determined. So many of us may be familiar for this process. Going to next slide to get the further tender documents. Tender documents, we know about that. We discussed before how it is important that how the document selection, how it is written, and it can. These are the components. We have a shortage of a time, so I'm not going in detail, but many of us familiar that how the documents can be can contain on this particular volumes, the tender and the contract conditions, specification, many of us are familiar, bill of quantities, drawings, soil report. Those who are attached with the tendering know about that, how much important soil report. Further describing the instructions to the tender annexures, we know the tender form and appendixes, condition of our contracts, specimen, tender bond, insurances. The specification, further we know about that if the building or civil, if it is related to infrastructure, then may be different about that. Mechanical, electrical, volumes, bill of quantities, we discussed before, it's revising maybe volume, drawings, soil reports. Okay, so contractors pre-qualification, we discussed before, and how it is important. It's a open, one is a open, we discussed that one kind is a open tendering, and one is selective, and selective we discussed before. So for selective, we are going generally for the contractor pre-qualification, the process, how it will work. The strategic forum of a construction has a generic pre-qualification questionnaire to be used by the organizations to give a rational, structured, and ordered for the selection of a long-term collaborative partners. Very brief, organized information. So what is the criteria? To, as I just quote an example that it is going to two-stage, selective tendering. So we may going for asking us contractors for their financial standing records. Those who work for that one are familiar. The financial standing records, we are asking for the 3 years or 4 years reports. Financial should come from the contractor, and financial standing records. The second one is the recent experience and their completion record. They are putting some recent experience, then maybe a more weightage for the completion certificate attached with that their experience. From general experience, skills and reputation, it is more important. Technical and management structure of the firm. Over here, maybe it is required or maybe more weightage if the association of the management's association with the same organization, how long, it is also the more creating a more weightage. Competence to meet HSE. It's a big issue over here, and I know that this part of word, more parameters set to get the HSE, particularly over here. We are for the 2020 World Cup, they are putting up more parameters to meet those HSE. Approach to QA/QC system, many of us know about that. And approach, and also the quality control insurance fund, capability. Firm has a adequate capability at the relevant time, availability. It may not be engaged with the many other jobs. It's important for that to selecting the criteria. Tender issuing and the later stages. We discussed pre-qualification. We know about that, what is required, and then we are going that what is, I just put what is required. I mean, stages further. I mean, if we will go in detail, we may not be able to go such detail that. But once what we have discussed up till now, it is a tender. We pre-qualify. If I go back and discuss procurement objectives, selection of contract, firm. Then we discuss in slide that we now, after selecting a firm of contract, we finalize the type of tendering procedure. Then we went to the we organize the documents, which type of documents, the detail, and which document, I mean, suitable for the different projects. If you are going to design and build, then may need a different team, which they may have a design and build experience to draft those documents, organize those documents. Issuing the tender. What we discussed before, it was a post. Now we are going, I'm sorry, pre-tendering, and now after a post, gradually going up stages. Issuing the tenders. Then traditional issue, online. We just discussed online tendering. Traditional, we know about that. We discussed that the newspaper, either selective. Then during the tender process, there is a stages. There is a queries. If the tender queries we are raising are coming from the contractor, if there is a deficiency in the documents, to adding more about that information. Or yesterday we discussed if the changes in the design and build in coming later stage, we know about that the concept design is going to the design and build contractor, and the changes can be costly. So then if it is acceptable, then the tender clarification is coming with the tender addenda, showing that okay, acceptable or not. Tender withdrawal, okay, after that many of companies participated, but after that withdrawal. Receiving tenders, important point. Once it is finalized, the now receiving opening tenders, reviewing the tenders, there is a process. Consultants are being hired to review that one. Post tender interviews. We experience over here that at SHAL, Public Service Authority, they are arranging interviews to finalize the team, to discuss the plan, program, price, negotiation further. Next, we are going to the tender report. Very important. If those are negotiation, just I'm going up one slide back. After opening, reviewing the tender, a tender report is going to establish for the client, giving all information right from the start, and even for negotiation. So the client will require reassurance that they are obtaining both value of money and a competent contractor. The tender report should therefore make a clear statement on both of these issues. So it's not only that we are getting lowest one, it's a value of money. We know about that. There is no compromise. Quality, time, we discussed yesterday, and cost. What are the components of a tender report? If we will discuss, it could be different, but it's a journal, project aim, a journal. I mean, this components a journal, can be changed. Tendering timeline, tendering evaluation team, conflict of interest, confidentiality of information, letter of invitation, offer received, late offers, non-confirmations, shortlist tenders, evaluation method, comparative statement, summary of offers, alternative conditions, evaluation criteria, weightage, scoring, negotiation, best and final offer, debriefing, unusual, unsuccessful tenderers, conclusion and recommendations. So this is today's maybe less than the last presentation. So if there is a question answer.
Thank you, Mr. Shahzad, for good explanation. And I will request to all bodies, please raise your question in chat room, and Mr. Shahzad will answer accordingly.
Shahzad sir, well done. बहुत अच्छा explain किया. Congratulations.
Can you, Sayyid sir, can you write your question please in the chat room, and accordingly he will answer?
If I have some.
Mr. Shahzad, there is one question for you. Can you read it from chat room?
Let me check and I will let you know. I'm going to check on this. The quantity serving role in a tendering. Am I right? I just lost where the question actually. Irfan?
If you scroll up, you can see.
Yeah, it's a quantity serving role in the preparation of a tender report based on RICS criteria requirement. This is a question.
Yeah.
I mean, right now, I may not be able to give exactly the RICS criteria, but report those who are the part of that team who evaluated the tender after receiving that. So their role is important. They are preparing. And if the quantity surveyor is a part of that team, they are preparing based on whatever parameters set on a bid evaluation report. So definitely their role is over there. But your particular question related to the RICS criteria, I'm not very much clear about the RICS criteria for a preparation of a report.
I'm like speaking, let me clarify, Mr. What is his name, Mr. Sayyid Muntazir. There is no any standard criteria for the RICS is provided, but of course, as Mr. Shahzad explained, that is fall under the QS responsibility to evaluate the tender, but there is no such criteria which you can say is required for the QS. But of course, he has to adhere the our RICS policies and standard. Thank you.
Yes, Shahzad sir, there is another question for you.
There's a question that how to select a contractor for the two-stage. I mean, at what base, since the design is not available at an initial stage. We'll discuss, if you allow me, I'm going to just on the same slide, and which may give a clear idea about that. So we know about that. We are actually acquiring expertise of a design and build contractor, and he is working as a consultant and giving us support on the design. So his role, once he finalized, then two stage, yes, over here. On concept design, the preferred contractor is chosen on the basis of a quality bid. The preferred contractor then joins the design team on the consultancy basis using a pre-construction services agreement. The preferred contractor then work with the professional team to complete the design. So design completed, then the second stage agreement, the lump sum tender. So this is a stage, then it is organized and then tender, and it will be preferred if the price. Initially there is a price on the BOQ, maybe there are some items, there is a program, but after that he has to put, give a price for those second stage, and he will work, and there will be a second stage agreement. Maybe it is clear for.
Yes, Mr. Shahzad, you can see some questions in the chat room.
Let me check, Irfan bhai. There is a question, if I'm clear that this is a question which is being asked, what circumstances behind the selection of a second stage tendering? We know we have just on the same slide, by the way, two-stage tendering has become a more common in recent years, and it is often used where the time constraint. So we know about that. We discussed that the design and build, management contracting, construction management. So it's a huge mega projects generally selecting this type of routes. So on which it is a requirement, time constraint, that the design should overlap the construction. Therefore, I think these are the circumstances behind to selecting a two-stage tendering.
Okay, there is another question. If you can scroll down your quantities, this is done. How to select a contractor for two-stage? I mean, at what basis, since design is not available in initial stage?
Farmai, what I reading in the chat book, if the received tender is above from the estimates set up by the client, how it affects the tender process? I am not clear. It's the same one you asked. Can you just come again?
This is a question in chat room. Attention to you only. If you will see question number.
Question number 5?
Yeah.
Okay, how can we manage if in the tender we have put a less rate for a certain item? I mean, technically, if it is over there and it open, managing there may not be a single answer, but I think that we may have, while going to execute, or we may have to send, I mean, information, sorry, clarification for that one. I mean, there is no any other clue, I think. Maybe some of my colleague can tell better about how can we manage if the tender we have put a less rate for a certain item. There is, I think we have to execute. There is no any other way if it is lump sum. And during execution, if there is an issue, we may have to write that what are the circumstances where we have to make a mistake, or we may have to substantiate that it was less, but the market was different and we did a mistake. It depends actually. We can't do until unless it is awarded and then we are going to execute the item. What I understand. Maybe there is a better answer.
Okay, there is question number 6 and 7.
6 and 7. Okay, let me check, Irfan bhai.
6, 7, 8.
So what circumstances behind the selecting by? I reply this one, question number 6. Okay, and just after 6 there is another question. I mean, in stage tendering we involve contractor at the time of preparation tender. We adopt this route for complex project. In this case, can we change our contractor once the design completed with previous selected? Yes, we can. It depends how what are the circumstances generally, but there is a chance that we can change the contractor if the client is not I mean good with the first contractor. We can change. 7, what is the difference between defect liability certificate and the performance certificate? Performance, I think it's related to your quality, and defect is a defect liability period after completion. This is a security which should be with the client. The job which done should be secure if there is any issue during that defect liability period. Or performance is related during execution. But I understand there should be some good answer for this one. In stage tendering, we involve contractor at the time of preparation tender, and we adopt. I think I reply this question 8.
There is a last question 9. You can see, please. Scroll down.
Question 9. Okay. The two-stage selective tendering can be chosen in remeasurable contract or not. It can be remeasurable. But generally in this part of world, we are going for the lump sum, but it can be.
Okay, all right. Is there any other question? Please raise your questions. There is a question, if you will see in the last, from Mr. Kamran Rahim. If can you read it, that question, please?
Yes, I can read the. If the received tender is above from the estimate set up by the client, how is affect the tender process? Generally, they are calling for negotiation, and since there's a 3 to 5 or 6 contractors are coming, so they are going for negotiation or calling for do some value engineering to make it a better price within that their engineering estimate. They're calling for negotiation, but it's not going to be. I experienced before there is a one tender for over here. It re-tender. Maybe there are some issues, maybe for price, but it's not going to tender process generally. Not going to affect the tender process. If it is a huge difference, definitely that the client may have to rethink about the design, the parameters set for that tender.
Okay, all right. Many more thanks. I will request to our global chairman, Mr. Laika Hassan, to come and conclude this topic. So I will request Mr. Laika Hassan, please.
Thank you so much, Irfan Saab. Thank you so much, Shahzad Saab. Really brilliant presentation. I can understand, of course, procurement and trending is quite a very wide subject. It's lots of things are included. It's not that easy to be conclude or present in an hour of presentation or session. You need probably
Yes,
a full day, or maybe a two, to explain the whole procurement procedures and you can say how to apply, how to choose the selected procurement route. But anyway, thank you so much on the behalf of Contractor Surveyor. And thank you so much for all gentlemen, for everyone who participate, who attend this session from all the part of the world, from Middle East and the Pakistan as well. Thank you so much, and inshallah soon we will come back with a new webinar, and hope you guys will join and you will earn, you will enhance your knowledge, you will get a lot of knowledge from our webinars. We do need your feedbacks to improve ourselves. We do understand that a lot of things happen in a question answer session, but try to understand this is our first webinar and it's a lesson learned for all of us. And we hope when we get back with the news and second webinar, it will be more improved in a more better way. Thank you so much for everyone, and thank you so much, Shahzad, for your presentation. And we definitely we need more your surveys. We need some more topics from your side to give us a good presentation and webinars. Thank you so much once again. Allah
Thank you,
Hafiz.
sir. Thank you for your time, sir. Thank you very much.